Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Changing Gears with your host, Chris here. Today, I'm with Nicole Fitzpatrick. She is fighting August 16th for Combat Zone, and I'm going to ask her some questions about her upcoming fight and her life in martial arts. So, just getting started, I wanted to ask, how has your team helped you push yourself to be the best version and best fighter of yourself that you can be? How have they pushed you in preparation to make your amateur debut, and how are you feeling headed into it?
I'm feeling good, very strong, very prepared. My team is good at, as I'd say, just finding your flaws and exploiting them so you can fix them. Um, Specifically, Eric Mitchell, Bruce Pacey, who have both fought at Combat Zone. They just they're very good at finding it and saying, "Hey, when we sparred, I noticed this," and then we work on it. They're also very, very supportive. I tend to be very hard on myself, and I can get a little negative sometime about my progress. We all know in martial arts, you hit plateaus, and your progress is just not linear. And they're very good at pushing me when I'm feeling that kind of negative energy taking over, I guess.
Hmm. Right. And do you feel like Combat Zone is a great place to start your amateur career?
I
And how are you feeling? Like, how do you feel fighting for Combat Zone, especially it's your amateur debut? How are you feeling walking into Snu Arena, August 16th? What are the emotions?
um I haven't gotten nervous yet. I'm sure that last week is going to be when the nerves hit. Um, but it's the only venue that I've really been to for fights.
Hmm.
I did start going before they moved over to this new arena, but it just has a lot of good memories with my teammates. I bring my dad to a lot of the fights. Um, it's always been a great experience. They run it very well, and my coach has a lot of faith in them and their ability to put on a good show.
Right. And do you have any? And I know it's hard to tell because you haven't really started your amateur career yet, but do you have any particular challenge in your mind for your amateur career? Is there any particular fight that you may want, whether it's in Combat Zone or in another promotion? What are there any challenges, maybe even moving up a weight class, moving down a weight class, going into MMA? Is there any challenge you want in your amateur career that you can kind of look into the future where you are now and maybe down the line you want to take it up? Or are you just focused on this fight, just, getting, hitting the ground running, just getting started and, getting the wheels rolling for your amateur career?
I definitely want to compete in MMA. Jiu-jitsu is definitely my first love of martial arts. Um, I I do I do love Muay Thai, but it's definitely a stepping stone to MMA. Um, I am all for moving weight classes if I need to, in order to just get a fight in general, get a good fight, challenge myself. You obviously don't want to take easy fights and you can win. That's not really helping yourself at all. I do. I'm 41. So a challenge is definitely going to be how long is my body going to put up with this training, and obviously injuries occur. Um, so I think that's the biggest challenge, but I do want this is definitely a stepping stone to MMA.
Yeah, right, definitely. And kind of looking at your opponent, Maria Zahir, have you seen any training or footage on her? Have you seen any holes in her game that you're looking to, exploit? Like, do you see any flaws, or are you just kind of going into this just, no, I wouldn't say blindly, but is there anything you've seen on her, or is it kind of because I know she's also making, it's her debut as well, so there's really not much on her. But have you seen anything? Have you seen any flaws, and are you looking to exploit them?
I really haven't seen much footage. I think there's one sparring video of just the whole group in class. Um, I I feel like I don't really take that kind of footage to heart or worry about it so much. I mean, you could come in our gym, see me sparring a Tuesday, and you're like, "Who the hell is letting this girl in the cage?" And you
Right.
could Friday when we do like our live MMA rounds, and you'd be like, wow, she's tough. She's controlling that fight, controlling that ring. So
Mhm.
all when we spar, we all work on, you have different goals every time you spar and things to work on. So you never know what someone's working on in that moment. So I don't think, I mean, if you have a lot of combat zone fights to watch with someone, that's a different story. But
Right, right. Right, yeah, it's especially since, she hasn't had any experience or any fight yet, so it would definitely be tough. So, before I change gears, I just want to kinda finish off this segment with, are you eager to start your amateur career, or you trying to, have you been relaxed about it, or are you ready to, jump full, dive right in, get right into the amateurs? How are you feeling, and are you just ready to go?
I'm ready to go. Um, my coach John he would not put us in there if we were not ready. So I know that I'm ready to fight, and I I've just since I started martial arts been like, I'm gonna fight. That is the goal. And getting there obviously wasn't easy, and there were times I was a little more kind of just tunnel visioned about what it took. But definitely ready.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, no. So, kind of changing gears here, I want to talk more about the hows and whys. So, where did you get your start in the martial arts world? What made you decide to compete? Maybe it was a person. Where did you get your start? How did you get your start? What motivated you to get into the world of combat sports?
So I started at Limitless Pride about 2 years ago, and it was the first gym I walked into to train. And I'm just incredibly lucky that I picked an excellent gym to start at. That was just luck. I live very close by. The biggest reason, it was kind of always a bucket list thing in the back of my head to try martial arts, but the kind of big driver was at the time I was just ending a physically abusive relationship, and I just never wanted to feel that just unprepared to protect myself
Right.
or just vulnerable to somebody else controlling me physically and hurting me physically. So
Hmm.
definitely a driver every time I'm in there, every time. As most women know, there's not a lot of us in combat sports, or as many as there are men. So when I'm, sparring against the bigger men, especially in MMA, it's just one of the drivers is to just be able to be prepared against anyone, size, ability, strength.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And kind of you have the nickname Lil Potamus, and I just want to ask, how did that come? Yeah, how did you get that name, or that nickname rather? And are you bringing the ferocity of a hippopotamus into the ring August 16th?
I absolutely am. Um, I'm very glad you asked that question.
Yep.
So Nadav, who fought at the last combat zone against Looney, he's one of my teammates. He were very close friends, and he actually gave me that nickname. But I love hippos. They're just cute,
Yep.
and I'm also vegan, which you get a lot of shit for that sometimes. And
Hmm.
so, like hippos, they're not looking to like eat the people or animals they're killing as a meal. That's not what they eat.
Hmm.
But they just want to kill them anyway. They're
Right.
just ferocious, but so cute. And I don't know, it just became like this parallel. And then of course, Mudang, the pygmy hippo from the Thailand Zoo, is just my little mascot. I have a gi with her on it. Yeah, there's just a
Yeah,
kind of there.
that's awesome. I mean, I couldn't think of like a more ferocious animal to choose kind of as your almost logo. That's probably, I mean, that's the best pick I can think of. There's really no contenders when it comes to that. So, you mentioned some of your teammates. How have they been pushing you? And how has training been leading up to this fight? How has your team around you just been pushing you to be the best fighter you can be? And how have they prepared you to make your amateur debut? And what does it mean to have them around?
We are definitely a family. I feel like one of the perks, almost pride is a smaller gym. One of the perks is that we are so close. You get to know each other very well. All of my teammates, one of the greatest things is they are hilarious. Some of the
Mhm.
funniest people I've ever met in my life. That gym every day, grinding together, but laughing and just supporting each other. They're definitely, again, like Bruce Pacey, Eric Mitchell, they're definitely very, and Dylan, are very just tough and aggressive and explosive. And so I've just had to learn how to combat that, how to defend that, how to also be those things myself. And we're very big on cardio at our gym, making sure that you can go a full 3 rounds or five, depending on your fight. Just go the full fight, not getting gassed, and not making stupid mistakes or having sloppy technique because you're tired.
Right, right. And one of your posts on Instagram mentioned that you one of your achievements was at a jujitsu tournament, not having any anxiety attack or anything of that nature. How has martial arts helped your anxiety, if it has, and how have you learned to kind of not control, but maybe work with your anxiety, maybe suppress it? How has martial arts kind of come into play, if it has, when it comes to your anxiety?
I think martial arts definitely requires a lot of good emotion regulation.
Hmm.
If you go into that ring and you get knocked real hard and then you respond with anger or you're scared, it's just not the proper way to do it. It should be, John always says, cool, calm, and collected. And if you watch him fight, he's just vibing. Um, it's about emotion regulation, and so it is kind of controlling the anxiety. And when you go in, especially with women who've had domestic violence in their past, your nervous system is just very sensitive to things. And we go into class, or you go into a ring or on the mats, and it's basically simulating someone trying to kill you. So you have to be able to learn to control how your body responds, like just from a biological level, how your nervous system is responding to it, so you can think clearly and act clearly and
Right,
properly.
right. And kind of branching off of that, from the first day you stepped into your gym at Limitless Pride, what were maybe maybe how was the anxiety going in the first day and comparing it to now? I mean, you're going into your first amateur fight. That's a big step up. What comparing the two kind of, from the first day to now, how have you kind of grown not only as like a fighter, but maybe how have you grown with your anxiety, and how does it compare being where you are now from when you first started out in your journey?
I can stay more relaxed is definitely a big factor. Um, I've just learned to, yeah, just stay relaxed and be able to think clearly in all situations. Um, and now I'm not thinking clearly at all
No,
answering.
it's it's okay. No, yeah, no, I definitely, it's I mean, it's just looking
I'm
from like
a different person than I was 2 years ago when I walked through those doors.
yeah.
I was not, I did not have the confidence I am, just confidence in who I am as a person, what I'm capable of. You get a lot of people on the outside world who don't fight, who or don't train, and there's a lot of stigmas. Or you get a lot of, oh, well, you couldn't beat me up. And I feel like as women especially, we run into that. Um, and I'm not worried about trying to show or make people believe something about me or believe what I can
Right,
do.
right.
I just show it when the moment's, in the cage, when the
Right,
moment.
right, right, right. Definitely.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
just not worried about other people anymore, I guess, is my biggest thing. It's helped my confidence a lot.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, looking like you said from almost an outside perspective, maybe from someone who doesn't train or doesn't, apply themselves to combat sports or martial arts in general. I mean, just seeing from, like you mentioned, stepping in 2 years ago, and now you're having your first amateur fight. I mean, it looks the growth is there just from an outside perspective, and kind of branching off of that. What is the past 2 years? What has been your biggest takeaway from martial arts? What at this point in your journey, especially, what's been the biggest takeaway from your life and journey in martial arts, and how have you kind of carried that into your everyday life and training, and how are you going to carry that into the future for the rest of your amateur career, and if you ever do go pro, your pro career?
My biggest takeaway is, I guess I would say just the confidence of working on yourself and not being concerned with other people,
Hmm.
not being concerned with them or what they think of you.
Hmm.
Uh, I do, and of course, the just learning emotion regulation. Just that journey alone has been wild. I do work at an adolescent psychiatric unit, and the just lessons I've taken from the mats to be able to help make me better at my job, and help reach other people who just don't have that confidence within themselves.
Right. Yeah. No. Um, well, that's it for me. Thank you so much for joining me here. You can catch her August 16th, Nicole Fitzpatrick. She's fighting Maria Zahir, Combat Zone, August 16th. Let's change some gears. I'll catch you guys in the next episode.